G'day, it's Rob here again. Well, I'm down in the workshop and you can see the bench is a bit of a mess. And I'm working on a project. I'm working on a little steam engine, a type I've never built before. I think it's called a clacker steam engine. It's some plans a drawing I saw on the internet, and I'll show you what it looks like. It's pretty simple, but it's complicated to build if you're just using scrap like I am, so I'll show you what's going on. These are the plans and, drawing, and it's simple. It's basically a piston that goes up and down in the cylinder. It's got an extension on it, a finger, and this here is a ball valve over an air hole. And it's got in this case, it's got a little block behind it to sort of keep it in position. The air pressure comes in this way, you see. And I'm going to replace the little block with a spring. It should work quite all right. And the way it cycles is that as it turns over, the piston comes up and the little pin comes up through this hole, this orifice, unseats the ball off of its seat. Air pressure, which is in here, then comes in, pushes the piston back and basically closes the valve once the little finger comes out of the hole, and then it repeats the cycle. Comes back, there's the exhaust port here, so basically it just purges out the exhaust port and it comes back and it's a recharge, and that's the way it works. Yeah. Seems simple. Well, we'll see. I'll have to fiddle around with it a bit. I don't have any exact measurements or anything. So I saw a video of one of these running on YouTube, and it makes this clackety-clack noise. Yeah, it's quite appealing. So I'll show you where I'm at with it. So basically this is where I'm at. This is the cylinder with the exhaust port. So the conrod is going to come out this end, and still going to make the piston up and a mount for it. This basically is the orifice, and it screws in here. This is all done with BSB threads, that BSB kit I've got. So that goes in like that. Then we drop in the ball and the spring, and then this screws in here to tension the spring. So you get my drift, and that's basically the engine, well, the piston and valve assembly. It's quite long, not that it's really going to matter, but I will be shortening this a bit. So the job for today is I've got to drill through this with this drill for an air hole, and then I'm going to, once I've done that, I'm going to machine the end down so an airline can go on, and we'll make it to this size thread, which is the one I use on all my steam engines. I think it's SAE, I'm not sure, I haven't measured it yet. So rather than screw a union into the end of this, which I could do, I could just tap it and just screw this particular union in and use that. I'm thinking I'll basically just, as this is too long, I'll cut this whole bit off. I don't need that. And then I'll thread a male thread on this section, say from here back a bit. I can thread the airline on. So all I've got to do is basically, at this point, drill the hole. So as the Chinese lathes all set up with collets and the chuck's missing, I got it off, and I'll go onto the old Schaublin, because you've got a collet set up, and I'll just drill the holes right through with the Schaublin, so you can see the old girl in action. Yeah, it's a very pleasant morning, just a nice cool temperature after all the hot weather we've had. But once again, you know, these sort of jobs, this is where you always save all your old springs and things. You know, here's my spring collection. You know, anything you pull apart, it's got springs in it, save them all, and they all come in handy. And yeah, all right, we'll get on with it. All right, here's the mighty Schaublin, and yeah, she's just about 100 years old now. It would only be a few years off, I think. And I just keep it covered up with oily rags and that, and yeah, I just put a bit of oil in it and get it going. Got the mini quick change tool post on it. Fits perfectly and works beautiful on this. It's the ideal size. And I had it on my mini lathe, my 7x12 mini lathe, but I sold that, got rid of it, I didn't need it. And the old Schaublin, because it's set up for collets. And I've got a chuck for it as well, I've got a 4-jaw. But yeah, beautiful old machine this. Well, it is now. It was a wreck when I got it. I had to rework all the dovetails on the compound and everything, and yeah, do a lot on it, but it's been worthwhile. All right, moving on. This is where it's handy having a second lathe. You know, you can have one set up for collets while the other one's doing something else. Right, that's right. Yeah, not good. Yeah, it's a nice, quiet old lathe. No noise. I hate those lathes with screaming gears and that's the trouble. A lot of these geared head lathes are so bloody noisy, they drive me mad. And I mean, the cheap ones are really bad because the gears are poorly cut, a lot of them. No, you can't beat a belt drive in my opinion, but anyway, it's all personal choice. This is what I've got. Brass makes a hell of a mess of stuff. The problem with working brass is too, you've got to be careful you don't get splinters in your fingers. They're bastards of things to get out if you do get them in, so you know, you want to be real careful with brass. And yeah, but this is a great old lathe. I mean, you know, like I paid $1,100 for this brand new 20 years ago, and boy, have I had my money's worth out of this thing. And I mean, I've had people too complain, "Oh, Rob, you're a disgrace. Your lathes are a disgrace because the backboard's dirty." I never clean the backboard, but if they look, they'll see I always clean the ways and the dovetails where it counts. You know, at the moment it's dirty because it's being used, but it's still well oiled. And when I've finished, I'll wipe it down and re-oil it all, and good to go. Yeah, but oh yeah, you always get people who are perfectos that they want to eat their dinner off their machinery. Well, I'm afraid you wouldn't want to eat your dinner off of my machinery, but it's clean where it counts, you know, and it's well oiled where it counts, and that's the main thing. All right, moving on. Collet blocks are also really handy in the workshop because you can just put them in the vise and hold stuff to work on it. I'll take the nut off. This is an adjusting nut. We don't need that on there for the moment, and I've got to put it back in the collet on the Schaublin. So I'll take this off so it fits. Also, if you get a collet set up, get one of these wrenches. They're good. The single point ones are handy in certain situations where you got limited access, but these are a lot stronger, grip a lot better, and yeah, just a better setup. All right. Once again, when you're working with collets, you always make sure that they're clean, because you don't want any crap getting in there. Same with the threads. The cap thread is critical to getting good accuracy with collets, so you don't want any cuttings or crap in there. It all has to be good and clean all the time. Alright, now to part this off. There we go, all done. Nice clean job. That's how you catch your bit of stuff so you don't have it shooting off the tray, off the bench top. Okay, now that's what we want. Now we have to grip this piece of brass on the thread, and this is where collets are invaluable, because they won't damage the thread. Now I had to go in this case to Imperial, that's why I went to the second drawer. But yeah, you can grip that thread without crushing it. If you try and grip it with a normal chuck, it'll pinch up the threads, and then you're going to be in all sorts of strife. So yeah, but now I have to turn down this to the diameter I need for the hose fitting to go on for my airline. Alright, so we probably thread it up to about here, I suppose. Oh, I'll turn this back. Should be about enough depth. So this is our target diameter, which I'll measure in a minute. But in the meantime, we can just machine some of this back, because we've got a fair way to go. Now here's a tip for you too. These are a good little caliper to buy, because they cycle between metric, imperial and imperial fractions. That's what this button up here gives you. So your normal calipers just go metric and imperial. This one will do imperial fractions. So when you're working on threads, in this case it's a 3/8 thread, so it tells you straight away. So these are not very expensive to buy, but they're a super good idea. And Alan from Retro Steam Tech put me onto these, and yeah, one of the best types of calipers you can actually buy. Really good. Alright, so we've got to go down to 3/8. Alright, so now we're cutting the thread onto the brass, and I'm using a die holder in a tailstock, and I'm using the shifter to turn it. Now these little thread dies are very shallow, so they're hard to get started. So you want to use tailstock pressure to start them, and once you get them going, well, then you can just loosen off the tailstock and just push it up with your hand and just feed it on. I haven't got a sliding tailstock die holder, never ever needed one. You can just do it this way. Just lock the tailstock, drive the die onto the job, turn it by hand, and then once it's started, well, then you can unlock the tailstock and then just light pressure with your hand and we'll just feed it on, which is where we're basically up to now. So we can loosen that off and it will just follow the thread on. But yeah, that's the trouble with those cheap small dies. They're very hard to start. They don't have a very gradual feeding. The thicker the die, the better it will feed in. Well, I think that should do it. Good enough. Looks good. That's the valve and the air intake. Yeah, that's good. Just the right bit of pressure. That should be perfecto. Right, so that screws onto there. Piston goes in there, airline goes on here, and now we're going to get on to the mount and the piston and the conrod and the crank, and there's quite a bit more to do, but we've got the guts of it done. And this was originally some brass water pipe, and I deliberately left some of that thread there. And I'll use a female pipe fitting, and I'll cut one down to screw on there, and then the idea is I'll then bronze braze that onto a vertical riser using the bullfinch, and I'll show you in the next video, well, the coming video, how easy it is to braze stuff and why it is so good for this sort of work. You know, this is how you do neat work. I mean, if you try and do these sort of jobs with a stick welder, it'll look like crap. And bronze brazing just makes it so easy and so clean. Coat of paint and it looks fantastic. So yeah, that's the next step. Machine down some water pipe, a ring that width, and then I'll decide whether I'll either put a slot in the ring and feed in the riser, or whether I'll put two flats on one each side of the ring and have vertical rod risers, the same as I did for the little computer fan model windmill I made a while back, or whether I'll just drill a hole, butt it against the side of the thread and just bronze braze around that, which is the easiest way to do it, and it would be the most rigid actually. we'll see. Things to think about. So it's time to tidy up a bit, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Cheers.